And the pioneers of our time, they're companies like OpenAI and Google. But what if I told you the most powerful revolution in human history? Time the word computer meant something completely different than the device in your pocket. When you think about a revolution, you probably picture something loud, right? Something with fire or steam, a big, obvious force that changes everything. But what if I told you the most powerful revolution in human history is happening right now? And it all started with a quiet, simple idea. Let's get into it. Yeah, we tend to think of revolutions as these huge physical events, like figuring out fire or harnessing electricity. But the one we're talking about today, it didn't start in a workshop or a lab. It started in someone's mind, with a question that, honestly, sounded like pure science fiction at the time. All right, to really get this, we've got to go back, way back, to a time the word computer meant something completely different than the device in your pocket. This is where it all kicks off, with one visionary and one, well, truly revolutionary question. And there it is. Looks so simple, right? Can machines think? That's the question the brilliant mathematician Alan Turing asked. Now, you have to remember, in a world that was just getting its head around basic computation, asking this, it wasn't just thinking ahead. It was a massive leap of imagination. And this slide right here, really puts it all into perspective. On one hand, you have the reality of the 1950s, these absolute behemoths, computers that took up whole rooms and could barely crunch simple numbers. And on the other hand, you've got this wild idea that those same clunky machines could one day actually learn and adapt. The gap between those two things was so huge, it's no wonder people thought it was just science fiction. So, did this game-changing idea just explode onto the scene and change everything overnight? Nope. Not even close. It was more like a seed that got planted and then just sat there. It went into this long hibernation, growing quietly in the background, totally out of the public eye. And seriously, for decades, that's all it was. A fascinating concept for scientists and thinkers to bat around, but it had zero real-world power. No smart assistants, no self-driving cars, nothing. It was pure theory, tucked away in research papers, making absolutely no impact on anyone's daily life. This timeline really shows you just how long and quiet that road was. Turing asks the question in the 50s, and then it just simmers. For the next 40 years, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, researchers are chipping away at it. This is when they laid all the deep theoretical groundwork, coming up with ideas like neural networks. The problem was the hardware just wasn't there yet to actually do any of it. It wasn't until the 2010s that computing power finally caught up and that little seed of an idea finally had enough fuel to ignite. And boy, did it ignite. This is the moment everything changes. This is the turning point where all that quiet theory suddenly becomes a very loud reality, and that idea starts to actively bend the world to its will. So let's jump to right now, to today. That exact same idea, the one that sounded so crazy back then, isn't just a theory anymore. It's one of the most powerful forces on the planet, woven into pretty much everything we do. I mean, just think about it. It's in cars that are learning to drive themselves. It's the virtual assistant on your phone. It's helping to create art, music, and articles. And it's in labs, helping scientists make medical discoveries that were impossible just a few years ago. It really is everywhere. And the pioneers of our time, they're companies like OpenAI and Google. They're the ones taking that foundational idea from decades ago and just pushing it to its absolute limits, turning what used to be pure imagination into our day-to-day reality. But here's the thing you really need to get. If you think what we have right now is the peak of this revolution, you're not seeing the whole picture. We have only just started to scratch the surface of what this is all going to be. This right here. This is the key. Everything we see today, as mind-blowing as it is, it's not the destination. It's the launch pad. We are literally standing at the very, very bottom of an exponential curve. So how do you even wrap your head around that kind of change? Well, the best parallel we have is probably electricity. For a long, long time, it was just a cool science experiment, a party trick. Nobody could have imagined it would power our entire civilization. AI started out the exact same way, as just a theoretical question. And just like electricity did, AI is now changing, well, everything. But it's happening silently, incredibly fast, and it feels completely unstoppable. We can't even begin to guess all the ways it's going to reshape our future. Which brings us to the most important part of this whole story, because this isn't just some abstract thing happening out there in the world. This is history that you are living through right now, and you have a part in it. So, the next time you ask your phone a question, or use an AI tool to write an email, or get a movie recommendation, I just want you to pause for a second and remember where all of this came from. Because you're not just using a piece of cool software, you're actually interacting with something way, way bigger. You're an active participant. You are literally witnessing the dawn of a new age, just like people 100 years ago witnessed the dawn of the age of electricity. You are on the front lines of history as it's being written. And that just leaves us with one last massive question to think about. When future generations open their history books and read about this exact moment in time, our time, what are they going to say? What story will those books tell about the part we all played in this quiet and totally unstoppable revolution?